Hey there, it's Vanessa here from the Craft Corner, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really cool little button concertina notebook. So I have filled mine with lots of quotes from Sir Ken Robinson on creativity and art, and it's really simple because all you need is 2 buttons, some paper, a couple of other materials, and you can get started. Come on in and I'll teach you the crafting secrets.
So the very first thing that you're going to need to do is find some buttons. So I have a very large button collection here, as you can see, and I want to get 2 quite large buttons that are exactly the same size. So I think I'm going to go for these cream ones. I'm just going to have a little root. Those are also a good shot, but I think I like the cream. They're a really good size, so I'm going to put everything else away and gather the rest of the materials.
I have my buttons. I have some string, a needle, I have my scissors, and I have some paper. Now I want to make this a long concertina notebook, so I'm going to use the longest piece of paper I have, which is going to be one of these. And I need to make it whatever size your button is. So I've got 2 different sizes here, but I think I will go with this one. So whatever size this is, we are going to make a long strip. Now, if you didn't have a long piece of paper, you could always join pieces of paper up as well. But this is about 3.5. So we're going to go 3.5. And we're going to 3.5 here. And I'm going to draw a line all the way along. And I'm going to cut this out. Again, I'm using nice thick paper for this. And if you wanted to make it even longer, you get a second strip and you could stick that together. So I can cut out another strip while I'm at it. I always recommend having a line to cut along, because otherwise it can be very tricky. Now, so this is my circle here, and I just want to fold it back, right, the width of the circle. So this is my button, and this width here, that's how wide my bend is going to be. See there? So that distance from here to here is the same width as my button. Then I'm going to go back and forth, and you'll see in a minute why it's important that it is not any bigger, because we're going to keep it attached on 2 sides. So I'm folding back and forth. Try and keep them even as possible. So when I'm folding it back, making sure that it's in line here, and then it mightn't go all the way back here. So that piece I'm going to chop like so. So now I need to cut out the shape. So I'm going to go around here and around here. This side here, if you see this part here and this part here, we are not going to cut out, because they are going to be our hinges on both sides. Okay, so do not cut out. That's why it's important that this is just the width of the button. Now, when you're cutting this out, you might need to only keep like a couple of pieces together and cut them out in sections, or you might cut them all out together. So on 2 sides, the 2 sides that have the joints on them, you don't cut out the piece in the center. So holding them together as you cut them out. So see, I'm holding it together. I don't want them to move around. There we go. Now, all these bits go in the recycling. And we have our concertina. So you might already be able to see how this is going to come together. Now there's 2 ways that you can do this. I am going to make it look like it is stuck together with just how it's sewn together, but we're also going to use glue on it as well. I'm going to get I've got embroidery thread here. I'm going to cut a nice long piece. And these holes are quite thick. So I'm going to double up my embroidery thread because I have a really thick needle here as well. But just use whatever thickness works with your needle and the holes on your buttons. So I'm going to have it like this. I want the lines going straight across, and I've just got one piece of my paper here. And you can trim this if it needs to be trimmed. If the paper is a little bigger, you can trim it. Just remember, you're never trimming on this side. Now, so I'm going to put the first tail inside here. All right. So let me just check. Even these up. So I've doubled up my thread here. Just gonna, I like to loop it around like that, it's easier. So my tail, I'm gonna hide the tail between the button and the paper. So I'm just gonna put a little tail here, chop it. Ideally you would use a material scissors for this, but we use what we have. So I'm gonna hide the tail inside there. All right, now I'm gonna sew these together, but I'm also gonna add a little bit of glue. If you had a thicker glue, it might be good to use it here. I'm just going to put lots of this glue on and then double secure it. So if you had a glue that was suitable for plastic, it might be better than this glue. But now that my tail is inside, I'm going to go back and forth through this. So back out, and then I need to find where the other hole is. So this part here could be a bit tricky. Oops. And I shouldn't need too many threads through. If you had 4 holes, you would do more. But just get it in and out, like so. Then this one, I'm at the back here now. Now here might be getting a little bit, see the way there? The joint's getting a little bit pulling. So I'm going to actually put a little bit of reinforcement on it. So I'm going to use this scrap of paper left over from a previous project. This was the exploding envelopes, or the magic expanding envelope project. Still couldn't really decide on the name for it. I keep changing my mind and calling it different things. So I have a little circle here. So you can secure that, and if it needs a little help on any of the joints, we could put a little bit more help there. So just gonna put that there. So I've just put a little bit across there. So here I'm gonna, couple of things you could do. If it's going to be exposed, you could just bring your needle through the back, but just be really careful you don't end up tearing, because remember, you're working with paper, not material. So I'm putting it through here. Oops. You're just tying a little knot around it like that. I kind of prefer this method, but you can also, and if you want, chop it, right? So give it a little bit of a tail, then tie a knot, like that. Okay, you can do a double knot if you want to. Chop here, and if you wanted to conceal this fully, you could put another piece of glue over it. So get your glue. Whoa. Squish this down, squish it right down over it. Then we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. So make sure that it's lined up. I've got my thread here, move that all off to the side. So if the button's going across like that, I'm going to go across like this, like so. I'm going to put a good amount of glue all in here. Get some good glue. This is why it's also important that the back is flat. I'm going to trap the thread in the back. You could even, if you had some fabric glue, you could use fabric glue on this part. And then I'm going to stick it down like that. So it's all stuck down. Then carefully, start to sew through. So again, you don't need too many threads going through. If it gets stuck, wiggle it, pull it through. Right, and then that's going to be enough on this one. So here, I'm just going to go in, because I'm going to leave this one exposed. Pull it through like this. Through, then just chop it. Now, so here is a little miniature button book. So it's got two sides to it, and you can write loads of different messages in it. You could make it into a little card. Wouldn't it be adorable as an anniversary gift? And you can make it using any two buttons. And of course, you could also make it using other shapes as well. You wouldn't just need to use buttons, but I have a whole collection that I wanted to use.
And in my little concertina notebook, I decided to write lots of quotes by Sir Ken Robinson, mainly on creativity and education, art. But I find his work really inspiring, so that's what I filled my little notebook with. And don't forget, it's double-sided, so when I filled one side, I went on to the other side. And again, fill your notebook with whatever you want. Little drawings, pictures, you can make it into a card or a miniature letter. Whatever takes your fancy. Do leave a comment letting me know how you've used your little button concertina notebook. Until next time, keep on crafting.